So, welcome back on stage for the final panel of this day. It's my pleasure to host this panel on how to have it all. We're going to be talking about how we can combine time for ourselves with a demanding career while having a family. Is it all glossy as we see it sometimes on the internet, or do we also struggle? Successful women on this panel. And I might introduce, Petra, we'll start with you. Petra Hauser, Country Manager Austria from Talent Garden. Petra, welcome.
Welcome to everyone.
Then I'll continue with you, Ruth Gabler Schachermayr, founder and CEO, Balanced Up GmbH and Career Mom. Hello.
Welcome.
And my co-host of this panel, if I may say, Georgiana Lazar, Head of Human Capital at Unicredit Bank Austria. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
So it's a pleasure for me to have a co-host, obviously, on this panel, as you're hosting the whole event on the Vienna stage on your location. We have a very important topic today, and I'd like to open it up with a question: what it takes to get where you are today. What were your learnings? How is it to have it all? Whoever might start.
Well, I can start with a little quote that in my mental preparation for the session I came up with, and let's see if everybody agrees. I think it's great to have it all, but you don't have to do it all. And I think with that mindset, you can really break it down on days, you can break it down on family, you can break it down on career, and then see what is it within your grasp and what is it within your possibilities and within your dreams, and to approach it perhaps in that way. So let's have it all, but then not try to do it all and for everyone and all at the same time.
Because that can cause stress.
Stress, anxiety, failure, guilt.
Yeah.
Might be one or two things about guilt around here.
Maybe Georgiana maybe I will rephrase the question. Is having it all the time an illusion?
Yes, it is. It is. There are moments where you don't have control, where you don't have what you thought you would have. But for me personally, the key is to enjoy what I have.
Yeah.
And to live as much as I can in the moment, although it's very hard. And to decide at all times that, you know, the universe has given me the best outcome that I could deal with and that I could have. And that kind of makes it easier, you know. I don't focus on what I don't have.
Petra, you are an entrepreneur yourself, but also leading Talent Garden in Austria. How do you do it? What are your learnings, or were your learnings on this path?
Yeah, well, Diane, I mean, it's not just this. I'm part of the supervisory board of a big company, Silhouette Eyewear. I'm country manager of Talent Garden. I have my own company. I still have it, and I'm chapter ambassador for the Singularity University, and I'm guest lecturer at the Vienna University. And this actually accumulated last year. So what I did when I reflected on this panel, I thought I will take next week 4 days as a digital detox to reflect for me what is my success portfolio now, also past COVID in a way. Because at the moment, I really must admit it is a lot, and somebody suffers. And you talked about guilt. So for me, it is always this feeling that I do not give enough to the family, even though I'm doing homework with my 15-year-old, sometimes at 10 p.m. in the evening. And nevertheless, I feel guilty because there are some occasions where I just do not show up, yeah? Be it like common meals or whatever it is. So I think at a certain point, it is necessary to stop and then also to reflect on your personal portfolio of to have it all. What is it? And this can change from time to time, and also with regard to different phases of life.
And also probably not to feel a failure if some of the aspects of having it all on certain days don't work. Do you agree?
Sometimes it's not just some days. I just watched Steve Jobs, yeah, the movie Steve Jobs. And if you look at this guy, and this is valid for so many people, yeah, start with Pablo Picasso. Yeah? So whenever you have really a personality that gives 100% to something, all the others around are suffering. And we may do like 10% of such a genius, but nevertheless, this is enough for people around us to suffer. So I think to have it all is very relative, yeah, because if you give 100%, then you are, sorry, asshole like Steve Jobs was to his very, very next people. So because it does not work otherwise, because the day has 25 hours.
And everybody
24,
will tell you...
Sorry, not 25. Sometimes it feels like 25.
Yeah? Yes, and I mean, you all are super successful women, but I mean, to give 100% on all the levels, work, sports, nutrition, family, private life, it's an illusion, isn't it, Ruth? What would you say?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic, and I also thought about what it means, and sorry for my voice. For me, it also means following my passion, how to have it all. And my passion right now is really empowering women, especially moms, to focus on their career and to know that it's both possible, have a career and have a family or be a mom. And that's actually why I founded Career Mom, and I really want to empower them and don't think they only have to run from one baby cafe to the next, but to also think about what's afterwards and what's coming next. We all know, unfortunately, that the aging poverty is a topic for women mostly. So we really need to focus on that and be aware that even on maternity leave, it's a time where we have to think about what's going to happen afterwards. So for me, having all really means following my passion. And that's different things at different times.
Georgiana, yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that you are passionate about empowering women to not feel pressurized to decide between having a family and having a career. I mean, people can decide to focus on only one, and that's great, but nobody should feel that they have to make that decision, that the moment you have a baby or the moment you get married or the moment you have your second or your third or whatever, you need to give up your career. And knowing that, you know, anything is possible if you make it possible, if there's a will, there's a way. I think that's really, really important. That's probably one of our key messages, right? There are adjustments, there are different levels of accomplishment, there are different levels of success. But at the end of the day, we can do almost anything we set our minds to do if we don't block ourselves and if we don't put limits, if we see it as a limitless.
And if we're passionate about it. Yeah. I think once you have the passion, then you can almost do everything.
And I think this discussion is even more important in the era of Instagram, Facebook, social media, which gives us an impression that successful women like you or successful people have everything under control, have beautiful scheduled days, have a beautiful, successful, so to say, timetable. Is that the reality behind the scenes? Would you
not for me. Not for me. There are days and days. There are days when I manage to do it, but there are days when everything falls apart, where your child doesn't want to go to nursery or to school. There's tears, you're running late, you don't manage to brush your own teeth because you're running after everybody else in the house, that you run late for work, that you forget to send something or to do something. There is mess, there is untidiness, there is less than organic food. There are takeaways nights, many recently. There are missed opportunities to exercise, for example. There are compromises along the way. But at the end of the day, for me personally, it's about how I look at it. And if I feel that I've won that day, because you know what, I went through and everybody's healthy and we're all together and we've managed to do most of the things we set our minds to do, then, you know, that's a good day. I hope I have many more of those. And then I'll only take pictures of the nice stuff and also of the bad stuff, but only for my family and friends.
Petra, can you relate to what Georgiana said?
I mean, absolutely. And I must say, I love remote work. It is so great, yeah, to just have your jogging trouser on and sometimes to even put the camera off, because sometimes you have these long meetings. And then you do stuff next to it, yeah? Like I love to cook during meetings that take longer than 30 minutes, because I think a meeting that takes longer than 30 minutes is a problem, at least to me. So there are definitely these days where things go wrong. And the worst thing is if you discover a mistake that you made, yeah, because we talked about guilt before, because this then suddenly messes up your schedule completely. Yeah, I had that actually today, yeah. It was about a tender, and there you can make many things wrong. So I discovered a mistake that I made, and then I had this problem of then fixing my whole day around that mistake. So these things happen, and it's naturally. What I wanted to add is that you're not alone. So, for example, to me it was crucial, especially when I got my first child, which is a long time ago. So my son is now 23, but in the first, I would say 1.5 years, my husband was not existent, yeah, to be a father, because he was overwhelmed by that task, because we are not born to be parents. So I was quite alone with that. And then what I did a group coaching session, actually, yeah, a psychological coaching session together with my husband and many others. And then he somehow grew into this role of being a father. And this helped such a lot. So I think you do not have to tackle all the things on your own. You can find help, and even if it is external help. So also, for example, when I had my second baby break, I was at home for 7 years because I found with a second child, I now need that time not to make the same mistakes as I did with my first one when I went very quickly back to work. And then at a certain point, you had to really dedicate that time to your child. Someone has to do that, be the mother or the father, somebody has to be there. It cannot be just the nanny, otherwise you suffer later on. This is exactly what happened to us. So for my second baby break, I took 7 years. And when I then tried to get back to work, I could write a book on that. This was so embarrassing. Yeah, I talked to executive search people that talked to me as if I were a stupid woman. I mean, with this idea of getting back to work after 7 years, how could I? Do you really want to work again? I got questions like that. Your husband has a good job. Do you really want to work? Stupid question. So what I did then, I again went to a coach, a very old coach, by the way. He was already 80 years at that time, and this personality helped me so much, yeah, to get that self-confidence, yeah, of being able to do it again. And then I got this job as the managing director of second biggest media agency, yeah. So, and this worked well, but without this help, I would not have achieved that.
Would a man be asked this question? No.
I really like now what Petra Hauser said about, for one, that we can delegate things, and sometimes it doesn't have to be the father. It can also be other people. It can be the nanny, but it can be the grandmother. It can be someone else. But then as moms, we have to accept that it's okay to give things up. And it's also okay, and that speaks to the perfect world, it's okay to be not perfect. It's okay to sometimes do things only 80% if the remaining 20% would take us so much effort that it's not worth it. And there's also, I think, a ratio that if you ask men, they say 70% is even okay, or 60%. As women, we want to give as much as possible. That's okay too. But we have to sometimes accept that imperfect is the new perfect. And that's totally okay. And also to accept help, of course, yes.
Is it also okay to tell this to our employees, to switch the role? You're head of the human capital at Unicredit Bank Austria in Austria. Do you tell that to your employees?
That they can switch roles?
Yes. For example, if they would make a break of 7 years, come back, welcome back.
This is really, really important, and it's one of the initiatives that we're working, for example, to keep connected with people who go on parental leave or on long sabbaticals as well, to study or to do whatever that they decide to do on a long break, to make sure that we stay in touch in the right way so that when they're back, it's easy to come back and you still have good opportunities and that you are still seeing yourself as valuable so that we don't lose this talent. We were actually thinking about the graduate program, and one of my dreams is to have a joiners program, not necessarily a graduate program, where we embrace people with degrees. We already embrace people without degrees, so that is absolutely fine, but where you embrace career returners, where you embrace people who want to switch careers and join banking for the very first time, not at a very young age, but with a very good spirit and attitude and work ethic and so on and so forth. But I wanted to make a remark about support. I was a single mom for quite a few years. I'm now very happily married, and my husband supports a lot. Today was a play day, the other mom was texting. I only had to write to him one word: can you please get in touch with her? This is the number. He knew what to do. But I've been a single mom, and I was recently promoted, global role. I was traveling a lot. And there was an anecdote that I can share. I was traveling with my boss once, and male character, very well recognized for his contribution to the business. And we would go into a meeting room, and most of the times I would be asked in Munich, in Milan, in Vienna, in New York, everywhere, who's looking after your child? You have a young baby at home, right? I would be like, ask him, he has twins.
Yeah.
The reality is it was my mom who was coming from Romania to London to help me when I was traveling. They were nursery teachers who were sometimes staying the night or working extra hours. But for me, what was important is that when I was there, I would be there with my son. I wouldn't focus on cooking. I wouldn't focus on cleaning. I would try to play with him. I would try to do activities that bond us. I now play computer games with him. We share the same passion for the same computer game. We've built Lego. I try to find things that join us and bring us together so that the precious time that we have is really time that it's really making a difference and it creates memories.
Do you drop your mobile phone when you come home and spend time with your kids?
No, I don't drop the mobile phone. Well, we take pictures together, we look things up on YouTube, we call my mom. So digital tools are very much part of, who he is. He's 9, he loves everything that is digital. I do keep an eye on email sometimes, but yes, now to answer more seriously, yes, I try to take breaks. Yeah, I never really disconnect, but it's because I love my job so much. And it's my choice and I'm happy with it. But I try to give him, undivided attention.
Would you say, since Petra said that she cooks between meetings that take longer than 30 minutes, is multitasking something that you would recommend? No?
I'm incapable. I would burn the food, eat the meeting. I would not be able.
Depends on the meeting.
I'm also a big fan of single tasking. I think for me it's also important what Georgiana said, that once I'm at the playground, and my son is still very young, 1.5 years now, I'm at the playground and I dig into the Sandburg and I build castles and everything. And my phone is in the kinderwagen, in the trolley at that time. So I really focus then at the moment. And I think that's very important. For me, also living in the moment, and single tasking is a slogan I totally live by. And also suggest that, we do some time management, e-learning courses now on our digital platform, where it's really about having both, combining entrepreneurship and family. And there we also talk about time management, and single tasking is really the thing that helps you in time management. Because you focus on one thing, you're there at the moment, and everyone knows, also study says, you're so much more effective when you do that.
Oh, it's a new term for me. Petra, what would you say? Cooking while being in a meeting is
not multitasking.
Oh?
This is not multitasking, yeah. I also believe that single tasking is much more effective, also more healthy. And I think there is no difference between men and women. No one is really perfect at multitasking, yeah. I'm very sure about that. However, nevertheless, I must admit, working for a scale-up like Talent Garden is special. Yeah, I mean, I turned 55 this year. I think one of the oldest people in this company. Yeah, so all my team is like 25, 29, something like that. It is definitely a challenge, because these people, I mean, you have this feeling they are everywhere, and sometimes it's very hard to turn something off, because we have Slack and we have email and we have WhatsApp groups, and then we have all these calls, and and then we have MS Teams. You also get like messages there. It is incredible. Yeah, so this is something which I find difficult, and I love all these strategies, and I can absolutely underscore them. However, living them is not that easy, especially if you work in these days for a scale-up. So I'm not perfect in single tasking. Sometimes I do multitasking, though I hate it. However, it is just a topic that at a certain point, and this is like my rule, I would like to really turn the thing off and then do something which gives me energy. I need some source of energy. Yeah, and there, sometimes I rather do multitasking during the day, like cooking and having something on. That is not that important, to have this time that I really need for myself.
Do you have further other challenges when it comes to structuring your day, and how do you handle them? Maybe you have some advice for our audience. And speaking about audience, I will look at our tablet now to see whether we have any questions, but just any other challenges, maybe Ruth and Georgiana, and how do you handle them?
Maybe what works for me is to block some time out for different things. Like if I decided with my husband that we want to exercise more, We coordinate on WhatsApp while we are both in the same house on meetings, on when do we take the lunch break together so that we can take a walk. And then I really block that time slot. Or if I have something at my son's school, I will block it and I will not let anybody book me unless it's like a massive emergency. And I think keeping this type of discipline and having the strength to say, no, I have something else, and then being flexible and saying, but I can offer this or that, really helps me personally to find time to have family, to have a couple's relationship, to do my work, and then also to find moments for my, spiritual needs or whatever household needs that I have, and so on and so forth.
But these needs would not be met if you are not proactively planning to deal with them.
It's got to be.
It doesn't just happen, doesn't it?
It doesn't just happen. Planning works, but also sometimes being spontaneous works as well. Catching the opportunity, something gets cancelled, I'm going to block myself out, and I'm going to now use the time to do something else, and also listening to my body. It's not a shame sometimes to have to get out of something on very short notice because you feel that you can't do it.
Is a successful woman tired sometimes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's a great point, Georgiana said, taking time off. And I think sometimes we forget that. We forget to take the time for ourselves. And that can be just, a coffee with no one around me, or, 10 minutes yoga, whatever it is, to really recharge our batteries and then to really be there afterwards. And you said how to manage our days, Diane. I think it's also sometimes in terms of time management, writing down everything that we do. And I mean not only business life, because we all have careers, we all have the things that we do, and we do so much more on top. So writing everything down gives us a good picture. Okay, I have to do this, I have to do this. I also have to, do the laundry, do the cooking, all of these things. And then maybe even sometimes, and it's helped me a lot, prioritizing and deleting things, or finding someone to help with those things and really delegating them.
Both in private and business life?
Both.
Okay.
Really both. And in delegating, there's things you don't have to do, and they are not priority. You don't have to clean the apartment every week. You can, there's options that you have, especially for things that are not that important.
Great. We have a lot of questions, so let's try to take as many as we can. Monica is asking you, Ruth, what advice would you give to someone who aspires to be a mentor?
Who aspires to be a mentor. I think it's a wonderful thing to be a mentor. I've had great mentors in my life, and actually I always come back to them. So that's one of the things, keep in contact with your mentors. Even after 10 years, when I founded my new business, I came back to them, had a coffee, and afterwards I think I had so many contacts that within 2 days I needed to actually write my business plan really quick so I could follow up with all of them. Be ready to share your knowledge, your know-how, and everything that you stand for, because the mentees really want that. And then also keep in contact with them afterwards.
Great. And both sides profit from that.
Both sides.
Kind of reverse transfer. Next question from Clarissa to everyone, very interesting, especially after Corona now. Did working from home actually improve the relationship with your children? Who wants to answer?
Listen, I can make maybe a starting comment. It's been bumpy. So coming from the initial stages where everybody was exercising, everybody was taking nature walks, everybody was cooking, everybody was watching Netflix together, the initial bliss, it turned out that we allowed our son less screen time than his friends. That depressed him and upset him tremendously. It turned out we were doing more homework than others. So there was a huge readjustment of how we function as a family, which didn't stop. Week by week, month by month, we had to change our routines, we had to change our rules, we had to change the way we support and we encourage each other and we push each other to make sure that by the end of it, we are okay. At the end of it, I want to have a happy husband, I want to have a happy child, I want to be happy in myself. And a lot of things got scrapped, didn't get done, got removed, got made more flexible, and so on and so forth, so that we managed to get through it. So it brought us together because we learned a lot, but it hasn't been easy at all.
Likewise, I guess.
Yeah, well, I would answer it with regard to the relationship to my 15-year-old daughter. This is definitely much more intense. The role changed, my role changed, because I feel that like youngsters in that age have a real unfelt psychological pressure through COVID, because they lack the social contacts. Maybe they even say, I don't need that, but they lack them. School, online schooling is a disaster, yeah, especially in Austria, a disaster, because the teachers were not trained, and it was such an extra effort for the pupils, incredible extra effort that I did not realize in the first place, because I thought, oh my God, she's laying in bed like until 10. Sometimes she turns on like, not even the camera, but turns on the computer, almost sleeping, like with one eye watching. So I thought this is easy. And at a certain point, I discovered that they get very unstructured tasks, and that it's really difficult, yeah, to catch up with all that has to be done as a pupil. So all that brought us to a stage where she was really like almost depressed, and I had to be her coach, her listener, yeah, really very, very important. So we spent so much time together now. The role changed, it is much more intense. So this is completely different. My 23-year-old does not need me at all. Yeah? He had his contacts, he arranged that all for himself. But for the kids, it is a topic, and I think at least in my case, my role changed considerably.
Thank you for being open about this so much. Very, very important. Petra, another question for you. What impact do you think technology will have on businesses and society in the future?
Incredible, an incredible one. And I say that because we are working with so many companies and institutions as Talent Garden on a European-wide basis. The thing is, and this is at least something which gives me so much enthusiasm in my work now, that we can bring so much joy and also passion to companies by showing them the fun that digital can mean. So not just mounting performance pressure or having that fear of losing the job, but really educating people on these new tools and showing them the fun. And this is, for me, this is so, I just had a meeting before I came here. I could show you like the picture that I took, the screenshot. These people were so like enthusiastic about a new training program on agile methodologies. So it is considerably changing for those that allow it. It is a question especially of the C-level, yeah? Very, very high responsibility of the C-level, yeah? Because what I also find is that people above 50, not all of them, it's a mindset topic, tend to prevent things from happening, like change from happening, and think their people are not ready for that. Yeah? And I see so many examples where the employees are really going for the new things, and they are just hindered, yeah, by the management level. So it's a big responsibility for management, for leadership, and there are so many changes to come, exponential changes.
Great. Georgiana, one question for you. What inspired you to work within this domain that you're working?
It's my passion for people. My mom is a nurse. My grandma on my dad's side was a midwife. I have been surrounded by people who care for others, and I've always wanted to have my life serving and supporting others. If I wouldn't be doing human capital, I would be a teacher, I would be a doctor. The reason why I do this job, and I've done it now for quite a few years, is because I can help. I feel that I can touch people's lives through well-being initiatives, through benefits, through diversity and inclusion, through creating a culture, offering opportunities, helping people access their first job or a job that transforms their career. This is why I'm here, and this is why I smile every day when I start my work, and this is why I manage to power through. And it doesn't feel like it's a chore, you know? It doesn't feel like, oh, I need to disconnect because this is too stressful. I'm like, oh my gosh, we can do this, and we can touch that, and we can help this person, and this is an opportunity. So
that's probably also one of the advices for success, to do something that you love.
Yeah, and I think the cliche of work-life balance is changing, because if we are lucky and privileged enough to be able to choose jobs that we care about, it doesn't feel like such hard work anymore. And personal and professional life blend, because when you read for work, you read in your private time and you don't even realize that you're reading for work.
Yeah.
If I find an interesting article, I read it at 6 a.m. in the morning, or I am sleepless at night, and it doesn't feel like it's work. And then the ideas the next day come in. But it's because I am, as said, very lucky, and we live in a society where we have this huge privilege of being able to choose what we do.
So it's not.
So let's choose wisely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
not work-life balance, but work-life integration somehow.
Work-life integration, blending in, and single tasking, and multitasking, and failing, and succeeding, and adjusting, and stopping, and starting.
And having fun while you're doing all of this. Just one additional question, Georgiana, to you. What advice would you give to someone who wants to gain experience within the human resources field?
Okay, how could they do that?
How could they maybe do the first step into this field? Can you study it, or can you just go join a team in this field?
Yeah, so you can definitely study it. There are qualifications that you can do. You can do them locally here. If the question is international, for example, you can do a CAPD, the Chartered Institute of Professional Personnel and Development. That is recognized everywhere else in Europe. There's one in the US as well. Nevertheless, I think what is important is to see what kind of HR do you want to do. If you're a numbers person, it's good to get some experience about working with numbers, and then probably compensation or planning are your areas. If you're somebody who likes to be interacting with people and draws energy from interactions, you're probably more on HR management than business partnering. So you might want to get a first job in a call center, or doing surveys, or trying to find something that allows you to practice your communication skills. Or if you're somebody who is very creative and who wants to be always kind of the center of innovation, maybe you're good for development or graduate programs or learning, and then it's perhaps good for you to try to find a first instance in that sense. I think internships are really, really good start. Graduate programs to apply for, I think that's, again, something good. Getting any rotations or shadowing possibilities will definitely open doors. So, but again, trying to choose one of the three perhaps then helps you grasp a little bit better what your next step can be.
Perfect. Ruth, what advice would you give to someone who finds it difficult to step out of their comfort zone?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. Really doing something completely different, putting yourself in a different surrounding where you have no choice but to step out of your comfort zone. So I've also done a lot of leadership trainings, and there we really put them into situations where there is no choice. They either, take the challenge and run, or they can't do it. So I probably caught a virus from kindergarten from my son, so I'm losing my voice. I think it's also a choice. If you really want to do it, then you can. But surrounding yourself with other people, like going to a networking meeting where you don't know anyone and just having to start to talk to people. Yeah. Like find situations where you're doing something out of the ordinary, which you've never done before, because then you really step out of your comfort zone.
Surround yourself with people who support you in stepping out of the comfort zone as well?
Yes, sure, definitely. Or find a mentor that can give you some challenges, coming back to the mentoring part, yes.
Yeah. Petra, another question for you. What is your take on the much promoted hustle culture? You spoke about the scale up, so to say. I guess that's the question, whether hustle culture is something that we should welcome, which is good. What's your take on it?
Well, what we see at Talent Garden these days, and I'm also very open again, that actually I have to say first that we have 58% of women in leadership at Talent Garden on a global scale. Yeah, and what we see, nevertheless, these days is that those women who have to carry a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, like opening up a new campus somewhere, or things like that, that these women, especially during the last months, stepped out of their jobs because they wanted to concentrate more on family, so reasons like that, which sounds a little bit like it was too much. So hustle culture is a problem, is a topic, and I think exactly what you said before, all these things that we should really be clear about, how we organize ourselves, is so important. And this is something, if you always say yes, I can do this and that, and give me the next task, just to be sure that I would not lose my job or just that I do the things perfectly. This is a way to burn out. So I think, and this is also something I myself learned during these last months that also put a lot of pressure on me. I'm the country manager. Co-working is definitely affected by COVID, so our numbers are not that good, obviously. So it's very full of pressure. And I remembered back in 2019 when we were so successful, we are still the same people in the team. So actually, it is not about us not being able to achieve things. And I think this is something that you especially have to tell yourself in that hustle culture and be very clear about what you can, what you are, and speak up. Yeah? Say very clearly what is okay, what is not okay, where do we stand, which is not your fault, which is...
You as a top manager would not see that as a weakness, if somebody would say that, but rather as a strength, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Showing also a solution, obviously.
Yeah.
Showing a solution. Yeah, but not taking all the burden on your shoulder until you step out. Yeah?
And I think you mentioned the burnout word. We have 3 more minutes, Georgina. Connecting to that, another question, how to avoid the burnout in the quest of having it all? Because I think that is what you're talking about a little bit as well. So maybe we close with this question. How to, while we're trying to have it all, avoid burnout?
Kindness, self-kindness. It's the most difficult thing to do, actually. Accepting myself for who I am and what I can do and what I have done helps a lot. I think that's one of the key answers, kindness. And one short tip to what Petra was saying, you want flexibility. Yeah? As a working mom, working parent, multitasking individual with multiple interests, you want your company and your environment to give you flexibility. You also need to give it back. Saying no and speaking up is critical, but giving solutions, giving alternatives. And in that way, it's a give and take. You don't feel like you're closing the door. You're closing the door and opening to others.
Ruth?
I would add on to that, yes, also saying when you can't do things, but still believe in yourself. Because if you believe in yourself, I think you can really move mountains and find someone who can help you move the mountain.
Okay, and how can you reach this stage of being kind to you? Or do you have any advice on that? What's the path towards that state?
Listen to your body. If your body tells you that it's enough, that's already a big warning signal, and you need to do something about it.
Is being kind to yourself being selfish, or is it a necessity to be able to be kind to the others?
It's a necessity. And I think how can you do it better or more of? Ask yourself the question. Write it on the mirror, write it on Post-its. Am I kind to myself? When you have those negative thoughts, when you feel like a failure, when you feel exhausted, am I kind? Oh, actually I'm not. And then regroup.
And don't watch Instagram in that moment.
Yeah.
Just joking.
Ask your friends to send you their nasty pictures with their dirty houses, and you'll be fine.
Thank you so much. I wish we could talk actually another 3 hours because there are a couple of questions left over, but the time is out. Thank you for taking this time, for being so open, for giving this advice to the audience and taking part of this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much for being with us. That's all from our stage, and I will head back to the, so to say, our team behind the scenes.